This past weekend was the Arete Live Summit in St. Louis with none other than Mr. Ed Mylett, Andy Frisella, and David Goggins. And in today's episode, I'm so excited to share the insights that I got from these three amazing humans on topics centered around ethical entrepreneurship, personal development, and ultimately creating a positive impact in the world. So tune in as I share the nuggets of wisdom that came through in my time at the Arete Live Summit this past weekend in St. Louis. Welcome back to another episode of the Positive Performance Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about a live personal development and networking event I got to go to this past weekend in St. Louis. And let me tell you something, it was an incredible weekend. There's so many golden nuggets of wisdom that came through, and I made so many incredible connections with the fellow members of the group. And that's why I wanted to take this episode to share some perspectives, some insights, and ultimately my biggest takeaways, not only from the speakers of the weekend, but also the fellow members of the group. And this event was put on by a group called the Arete Syndicate. And this is a private community that I'm a part of that was founded by none other than Mr. Ed Mylett and Andy Frisella. And if you've never heard of these two before, they are some of the most impactful thought leaders in the space of both personal and professional development that you will come across. Ed Mylett is a New York Times bestselling author, just released his newest book, The Power of One More, and is arguably one of the most impactful podcasters that you will listen to, that I sure listen to on a quite regular basis. And then we have Mr. Andy Frisella. He is the genius behind the 75 Hard program. He also has his impactful podcast called the Real AF Podcast. And he is also the brains behind the incredible supplement company, First Form. So these two brains, these two amazing gentlemen got together with a purpose, with a vision to create a group of people that can share common goals, common ethos, common core values, so that we could support one another in our visions and ultimately create an impact in the world. Because that's what they saw. They saw an opportunity to get people together to create a container where people can support one another and where we can share the ideas and the visions so that we can ultimately take our purposes, take what we're doing, and go create an impact in the world. They understand the power when people come together. They understand that now is a time more than ever where we need people affecting real change in the world. With all the craziness going on, it's going to take people taking massive action. And the more that they can bring people together with this common goal of really affecting positive, real change in the world, specifically too through the world of entrepreneurship, following your passions, following your dreams. Like, this is why they brought this all together. And it's an absolutely incredible community that I've just gained so much value from in the short time I've been a part of it. Just to give you a little insight, I just want to share the core values of this group, just to give you a little bit of a taste of really what this group stands for and, what it's like to really embody this on a day-to-day basis. So here are the core values. It's creating a positive impact in the world, leadership through action, doing the right thing, being humble, having hard discipline, a commitment to dominating, excellence is essential, and being a lifetime student. And again, these are the core values that we lean back upon, that we lean into to ensure that we're showing up every single day, moving forward in our personal life, professional life, in all areas of life. And Arete is actually derived from a Greek. It has Greek roots, and it really translates simply into excellence. Not just business excellence, not just net worth. This is about excellence in all areas of life. Excellence as a father, as a husband, excellence in business, excellence in relationships, excellence in personal development, in personal growth, and physical fitness. It's about creating this balanced and harmonious lifestyle and helping others and do the same. So I think that's a bit enough about the actual Arete group. Now, this weekend was centered around a public speaking event on Saturday, and the three speakers were Ed Mylett, Andy Frisella, and also Mr. David Goggins. And each of the speakers had their own flavor. They had their own really touch of what they wanted to speak into, and each one had just such a deep impact. Now, starting with David Goggins, he started the weekend off, and if you've never heard of David Goggins before, he's commonly referred to as the hardest man on the planet. He's a Navy SEAL. He went through Army Ranger training, and he has this just incredible story of being completely, I think he was over 300 pounds. He had a really rough upbringing, wanted to join the Navy. Pretty much all recruiters laughed in his face, and he was doing pest control, spraying for pests, again, over 300 pounds, and looked in the mirror one day and knew he had to change, and ended up getting in the Navy SEALs, and has since, he runs multiple 100-mile races. He does races in over 100-degree weather, on-road, off-road. He just pushes his mental and physical body to the limits. And he is just one of those people that shows, that is an exemplification that the body will follow the mind. And this is one of my biggest takeaways from him. And I read his first book, Can't Hurt Me. And I remember while I was reading that book, I literally signed up for a marathon while reading that book. I was so inspired by the words coming off the page and the what he showed was possible for a human being to accomplish. You know, do I want to go run a 200-mile race? No, but to put it into perspective, the amount that my mindset was holding me back from what my potential was in that moment. And really, our potential is only limited by our mind. And this is something he talked into in his talk. And one of my biggest takeaways from David was like, all these barriers that are created physically manifest from our mental, from our mindset. And there is no limits except the limits that we place on ourselves. So it's not saying that you have to go out and run 200 miles, but just knowing that next level, that next thing you want to accomplish, whether it's physically, in your business, in your relationships, whatever it is possible for you. And I believe there's some people on this planet that do these absolute extremes that are reminders for us. They're reflections for us. So again, it's not about achieving the things that these other people are achieving, but understanding that the potential that lies within them, that spark within them, exists within you too. And one of the things that I loved about David Goggins' talk, he talked about, they went into asking him about death, if he's thought about death and, that process. And he talked about his perception of after we die and meeting the creator, God, creator, universe, whatever you call it. And he was talking about this moment where, you go and you sit up with God and he has all this on a board. And, if you don't live up to your potential, you get to that moment and he says, hey man, like, this is where you got, this is where you were supposed to go. This was all the potential that was out there for you. Like, what happened? And, one of his driving forces is like, he never wants to get to that afterlife moment and God to sit there and say, what happened? This is all you were supposed to accomplish. This is all the potential that I put into you. This is all the spark I put into you. Why didn't you actualize it? What held you back? Right? And that's one of his driving forces. And he talked about at the end, which I loved, his goal, his vision is like, I want to get to that moment. I want to, after I die and I get to that moment with God, I want there to be scribbles on the bottom of that. So here's all my potential. And then there's scribbles on the bottom. And you ask God, well, what are those scribbles? And God says, you know what? This is all I thought your potential was, but you outworked me. This is, you did all your potential, and then here's some extra credit at the bottom. And it just gives you some insight into his mentality of like, it's beyond even potential. It's constantly and continually evolving into this bigger, greater, grander, more evolved version of himself. It's staying hard. That's one of his things that you'll see in his social media posts is stay hard. And that's another thing that he really talked about a lot, especially, he had all this success. He built this version of himself from being overweight and lazy and all these things, built this new version of himself that was just heavily disciplined and who he wanted to be. And then he reached this state. He got some success now. He has a best-selling book. He's financially secure. And he felt himself wanting to kind of slip back. He said, got silk sheets. It's hard to get out of bed with silk sheets, So he talked about, the brain finding that comfort again and how it's an active process to lean into that growth edge. And as we continue to go, the brain is still going to seek comfort, and it's going to take active responsibility to move through that and to put ourselves in situations that are going to continue to challenge us. Intentional challenge, something I've sure talked about on this podcast before, and I've seen just such immense benefits in it. And he is the living embodiment of that, talking about, 15-mile runs at 3 a.m, how he motivates himself for that. Again, it's not saying we have to do this, but it's saying, what's your growth edge? For him, maybe a 15, 20, 30-mile run, that's his growth edge. If a 1-mile run is your growth edge, go into that growth edge. How can you continue to expand and grow that so you can grow not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Leaning into this uncomfortable action, leaning into these things can grow us in such immense ways. And I think he put it, don't live with potential, live in potential. You have limitless potential. We all do. We have a potential beyond what we can ever conceive and perceive with our mind. And the more that we take this, the more that we can push that envelope, the more that we expand, we grow, and ultimately can be a greater service to ourselves, to our families, and in my belief, to the world as a whole. So that was David Goggins, hard charging, a lot about motivation, pushing yourself, pushing those limits. Then we had Andy Frisella come on, and Andy was really centered around a business mindset. So a lot of his talk was around business. I'm not going to go into the nuances of it. Some of the stuff that he shared, he definitely wanted to keep private about some processes and some of the more technical, logistical things of the process. So I'm not going to go deep into that, but I'm going to give you some of the basic takeaways of it. And what I love about when he talks about, because he's sitting up there with a business that's worth $800 million, built from the ground up, used to sleep out of the back of his car, didn't really take an income for the first decade of his business, and now he's doing 800 million. And he talks about businesses, empires, all the things you're building. It all happens one relationship at a time, whether you're at the top, whether you're at the bottom. It's one relationship at a time. And really what poured through everything that Andy talked about was not only the customer, but also the employee experience. And right now, we're in a time where it's more important than ever, right? Social media connects us all. The customer experience can be shared in the snap of a finger. And quite frankly, people are tired of just being a number in a system. They're tired of all these enormous corporations that really don't give a crap about them. They only care about the bottom line. So the more that you can really tune into customer experience, the more that you can really facilitate that whole journey from start to finish and rinse and repeat that, the more successful you're going to be. It's no lie. There's no doubt we're in challenging times, and the next few years are going to be shaky. The economy, the business landscape, all of that, there's challenging times ahead. And guess what? It's the time to lean in. It's a fire sale because so many people are going to be pulling out. So many people are going to be stepping off the gas. So if right now you can lay the foundations, if you can lean in, if you can plant the seeds, you're going to become wildly successful. And when you look, some of the most successful businesses in the Fortune 500 list were developed, were conceived, were started during depression, recession times throughout the economy. And again, there's going to be so many things available to you, so much real estate, so much market share you're going to be able to take over. And especially at a time where so many of these companies are throwing political agendas and, all this craziness going on with all these mass companies and the mainstream media, the more that you can focus on customer experience, the values of America and American-based employees and things made in America and just the basic things, right? Like equality, freedom, and just like allowing everyone to have their opinion. Like if you can just not shove those political agendas, give an amazing quality customer experience, have an amazing product, really give a shit, it's inevitable. It's inevitable you're going to make an impact. It's inevitable you're going to grow. And again, especially in a time where people are going to be pulling off the gas so hard, people are going to be making decisions out of fear. So if you can stay out of that, you can build your brand through that when this is all said and done, there's going to be massive explosions continuing to come to you. And one of the things I love is he really talks about that employee relationship. Really not just building the employees, like their skill sets, but building them as humans, like really getting to know them and, understanding that like you can't have one blanket thing for all employees. It's about truly understanding the individual needs of each employee, having those standards, understanding that, you at the top are going to have, especially as a business owner, you're going to have a certain standard, and there's some loss of that standard going down through the employees. So really having those conversations, having those understandings, and really being a frontline leader that cares, that truly cares. You're going to have people that want to work for you. You're going to have people that feel valued. And again, in a time where, it's time to land grab, getting employees, getting materials, getting market share. So employees is one of those. And it's about building those relationships that are going to last a long time. And if you work on that relationship with the employee, it's going to filter down into your customers, into the customer experience. And another thing that I really loved about his talk, and this one hit so hard, was that your business growth cannot outgrow your personal growth. It may in the short term, but long term it can't. So what do I mean by this? There's being a business owner, there's the business mindset, there's the business tactics, there's running a business, and then there's your personal growth, your emotional control, your balance in life, your physical fitness, your nutrition. When you're a business owner, you're running a company, or you're in a high level position, it all plays into one ecosystem. It's not your personal life, your professional life. It's all one. If one area is lagging, it's like if you have a car with 4 tires and, say one of those tires is your nutrition, the other one is your business, the other one is your relationships. If you got a flat on one, what's going to happen? It's going to affect the way that car drives. You have 2 or 3 flats. How's that? You're not getting anywhere. So it's really about balancing and harmonizing all the areas of your life and understanding that your personal growth is the key to your business growth and getting to those levels that you want to get to. So those were some of the main takeaways from Andy. Like I said, he did a lot more of technical stuff about the customer experience, but that's the main takeaway. Give a shit about your customers, give a shit about the product, exceed expectations. And this is going to put you in a loop that's going to continue to get you business, get you referrals, and it's just an ethical way to do business. All the things we talk about, all the things that we're talking about this weekend isn't about getting rich quick. It's not about cutting costs. It's not about profits. It's about ethical entrepreneurship, creating an impact while also giving a service, and also at the same time creating profits that you can then reinvest and then also utilize as a resource to further give back. I use the example of people like Tony Robbins, right? He continues to, create an impact in the world, create more money, and then with that money, he's now donated 1 billion meals to charity, 1 billion free meals to charity. Money is an asset and a tool for us to be able to create more impact. It's just how it is. So, we need to understand that like it's part of it. It's okay. And businesses need to be profitable, and they also need to make an impact. And when you can conjoin those two areas of ethical entrepreneurship, customer experience, really caring about the community, the people you're serving, and most importantly, like solving problems, like your customer has a problem and you're there to solve it for them. And then there's a monetary value for that. And then you get to use that to create more impact, to grow your business, to help more people. And it's a never-ending feedback loop. And that leads me into the final one, which is Mr. Ed Mylett. And Ed he was another phenomenal one. He really hit the emotions. He comes from an alcoholic father who was an alcoholic for most of his younger years, and how he got sober. And really, I talked about his book before, The Power of One More. And he talked about this concept a bit of, we're one decision away from a completely different life. One meeting, one relationship, one habit, just one thing. And he's, such a proponent of, just giving one more. That difference between where you are and really where you want to go, those massive levels of success, whatever that looks like for you, just one more. You go to the gym, you do 10 reps, do one more. You go for a run, you're doing 3 miles, do one more. You're making phone calls for your business, you're doing 10, do one more. It's that one extra. It's ingraining that one more mentality that's going to push you over and really be that differentiator. And this came from his father. His father had tried to get sober a lot. And the final time his dad got sober, when he came home, Ed's like, "Hey, Dad, are you never going to drink again?" He said, "I don't know, son, but I know I'm not going to drink for one more day." And that one more day lasted for 30 some odd years. And there's such a powerful frame in this, right? When we think about, say you're trying to kick a habit or do something or start something new, right? When we think about, oh my God, I'm doing this for years. And we think about that long road, it's intimidating. It sounds a lot easier to say, I'm going to do it for one more day. I'm not going to drink that alcohol for one more day. I'm not going to touch that cigarette for one more day, or I'm going to go to the gym one more day, whatever that looks like for you. And I really love that concept. He really drove that home. And he just really, really drove home the topic of responding to life and how response is freedom. And what I take from this is, I love how he put it, responsibility, the ability to respond, responsibility. And, I think about, for me, what comes up is like emotional control, right? We're either acting out of triggers, we're either acting out of fears, we're acting out of unconscious patterns, or we're responding to life. So we're reacting or responding. And this is where that emotional intelligence comes in. When we can see the patterns and not react into them and begin to respond to life, that is where the true freedom comes in. It doesn't mean you're not going to get triggered. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to come up, that are going to cause patterns to arise, but it does mean that we can take actions despite that, and we can see that for what it is. So I really loved to where he went to there. He also went into his 10 levels of mastery. I'm not going to get into those, but the main takeaway from that was 3 out of those 10 levels of mastery had to do with physical fitness and your energy and nutrition and body movement. So, and this is, Tony Robbins is another one who talks about this a lot. It's like, we can have all these tools and things to implement and this knowing, but if we don't have the energy, if we don't bring that energy, if we don't take care of our body, if we don't feed our body the right things and fuel it the right way, then the knowledge doesn't matter, because we're not going to have that energy and that push behind the things that we're trying to implement. Energy is everything. Think about like if you have the energy coming in, I'm going to go to the gym today, or all right, going to get my gym workout in today. Those two different levels of energy, I got work today, got to make some phone calls, or all right, I got 10 phone calls to do, I'm going to do 11, right? Those two different levels of energy are going to create two different outputs. So this is what we talk about when we talk about energy, bringing enthusiasm into the things that we do, even if it's challenges, even if it's things that are a struggle, going to the gym, lifting weights, doing a long run. It doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, but it also doesn't mean that we can't bring enthusiasm and energy to that. And when we can do that, the body will match that, our mind will match that, and we're only going to amplify that process. And the last thing that Ed talked about, which I really loved, was he was talking about a bit about confidence. And he was talking about attaching confidence to intention and growth over results. And I take away from this is like, we can't control results. We can control what we do. We can control our output. We control what we put into something, but we can't control results. If you're going to do a race, right, you can control how much you train. You can control all the variables and what you eat, how you prepare, everything leading up to that race. But you cannot control the results of that race. If someone is more prepared or beats you out or something happens in that race, you can't control that. So when we attach ourselves and our identity to the results, then that confidence can waver depending on the results. But if you attach your confidence to the process, to how much you put in, to how much you put out, well, then your confidence can say you can still get that second or third place and have the confidence that you put in 110%, you put all in. And then from that, not first place finish, you go back to the drawing board. Where did we come up short? How can we improve? What was the differentiating factors? Instead of, again, attaching the identity to the loss, and then all of a sudden your confidence wavers, all of a sudden your self-image wavers. So I really love this concept he had about really attaching yourself to the process, and something I've been talking about a lot more recently. It's like the journey is the destination. It's not when I have this amount of money, I'll be happy. When my business reaches this amount of employees, I'll have the time. When I get to this certain level, I'll spend more time with my family. We're always leaving our happiness and joy and balance in a future moment. And we have to start managing it now. Think about it. You wouldn't lose 10 pounds and then start managing your weight and start tracking and start trying to lose weight, right? You're not going to lose the weight and then start managing it. You need to start managing it, and then it's going to have the effect. So the same goes with your happiness and your joy. Don't manage it in a future moment. Start managing it now. And that's only going to further cultivate that down the road, because it's only going to get harder as things get out of balance, as things get out of whack, as there's, the different areas get different results. So that's why you want to pay attention now. You have that effect now. You can have that impact now. So again, that was some of the biggest takeaways I got. Andy Frisella, Ed Mylett, David Goggins. And again, this community is all about affecting change in the world. We all have that potential. We all have a purpose. Our purpose is typically tied to other people's purposes. We're here to make an impact. We're here to make a difference. You don't have to want to go out and make 100 million, a million. It's not about the monetary value. It's about creating that impact. It's about having the ethics behind it. It's about leading from the front. It's about setting the example. And really, I'll leave you the same way that they left this presentation, over the weekend, of like, we have a responsibility now. There's so many crazy agendas that have been pushed upon us by so many different sources, by the mainstream media. There's so much craziness that it is time that people need to come in heart-centered service, in their passion, in their purpose, and come together to create the change they want to see in the world. This is what we need. This is our responsibility. And especially as entrepreneurs, even if you're not one, but especially entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have the ability to influence and shape culture, and this culture has been diluted by a number of Trojan horses for a myriad of different purposes. So it's time that we stand up for the version of America and the version of a future that we want to see, through being ethical, through living in our purpose, through having passion, through supporting and uplifting one another, and ultimately serving the world with the reason that you were put here. That was the main takeaway. That was the main message. Again, this isn't just about net profits and just about creating these businesses that make all this money for no reason. It's about creating a positive impact in the world. It's about using your unique skills and abilities, because you have something that only you can help someone with. You have a unique skill, capability, capacity, passion that only you can. And it's your responsibility to embody that, to tune into that, and to give that to the world. And then in return, you get the financial, the emotional, you get all those freedoms to live a life that you truly deserve. This whole rat race of living someone else's dream, living that 9 to 5 that you don't even want to work for a couple of years of retirement, that's the old program. This is the old system. We're in a time, or a unique time, where things are falling down, things are breaking away, and that's opportunity to build the new systems, build the new ways of being. People are tired of it. People are tired of the bullshit. People are tired of these companies and these conglomerates that don't give a shit about them. So now's the time to step up, to care, to create a positive impact, to be that leader, to be that person people can look up to inspire others. That is the purpose of all this. That was the purpose of this weekend. That's the purpose of this group. And that's behind what I do on a daily basis, and a lot of what's behind this podcast. So that's a bit about my rant. That's a bit about the core values and really what's brought this group together. So I hope this hits you. I hope this hits your heart. I hope you know that you have infinite potential within you. You have unique skills, capabilities, and things that you're meant to bring to this world. And it's typically your mess that becomes your message. So look back at what you've been through. If you're wondering, like, why am I here? What's my purpose? It's a lot of times the crap we went through. A lot of times the stuff that we think disqualifies us are the exact things that qualify us for what we're meant to do in this world. I'll leave you with one story about that, something that Ed talked about his father. His father was an alcoholic, right? And the person that changed his life, the person that allowed him to get off liquor and that then influenced Ed to do the things that he did to influence millions of people, for that person to affect change in his father, that person need to be an alcoholic. The thing that guy would probably think disqualified him from helping others is what he needed to go through. He needed to go through addiction so he can help others that were in that place. So again, turning your mess into your message. The things you've been through, whether your fault, not your fault, they don't disqualify you. As a matter of fact, more times than not, they qualify you, because God does not call God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. So when God calls you, he qualifies you through your life experiences, through the things you've been through. As soon as we face that, we transmute that, we turn that into our power, and we create the impact we want to see in the world. So go out and do it. Take a look back, see what you've been through, see the things that you're passionate about. Look at the old version of yourself and see how you can help others along that journey and along the way. Again, thank you for listening. It was an incredible weekend. I hope you got some of the takeaways. I hope you got some of the value that I got from the weekend. Until next time, stay growing.